Michigan comes into Ohio Stadium and routs Ohio State 45-23. We are grading C.J. Stroud and what we all assume is his final game here at Ohio Stadium. Obviously, he wasn't being committal about that in the moment, but also kind of said his goodbyes to the Ohio State faithful today. 31 of 48, 349 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2 interceptions late when they were trying to get something going at the end. Took 1 sack. Not much, obviously, in the running game as usual. Steven, obviously, this was a game where C.J. Stroud could have come in, led Ohio State to a win, and put his stamp on a Heisman Trophy campaign. That didn't happen.
So last year when we did this video after the Michigan loss, I was very graceful in using the C.J. Stroud is not the reason they lost. He did everything he could do, and I think that still applies today. But you're 0-2 against Michigan, so I don't care what your stats are. It has to be an F because you have failed. And what the #1 goal is at Ohio State, and that's to beat Michigan. And you lost there in pretty dominating fashion, and you lost here in pretty dominating fashion. Now, all of that is not on him, but it's on his record book, and it's the way people are going to view him. And he was even alluding to some of that and kind of understanding that he's going to be viewed as the guy who in multiple times against Michigan, he lost. And that hasn't happened since the 80s, that a quarterback has had multiple tries against Michigan and couldn't get a win. And so it sucks. It sucks that you have to give him an F because I thought he played well. I don't think he was always put in the best position to play that maximum capacity. But the point of the matter and the fact of the matter is, regardless of what his career numbers are, what he did today, he's 0-2 against Michigan, and that's a failure. So it's an F.
Is it a failure for you, Doug, also?
Probably not because I'm old and I'm soft. That guy is so real. He is one of the realest dudes that I've ever covered in 18 years of doing this. And he said he didn't leave any stone unturned in trying to get a win here. And he said, like, I kind of like shut down my personal life. And I had a long talk with him a couple weeks ago about all the extra time he spends in the film room and stuff. And so, and he didn't, like, it wasn't, like, offensively, I'm not exactly sure why they didn't score more. Like, I need to go back and watch again. Like, defensively, we know what the problems were. Offensively, I kind of don't know what it was exactly. Some silly penalties that set him back. So I can't give a guy who left it out there to that degree a grade like that. So I'll give him like a C+, because you, again, as a quarterback, you're graded on the team's success. But I do think we get to talk to him. We get to ask him questions. We don't really get to know him, but we get to know him more than a fan does. And I do think we sort of have a responsibility to tell people that this guy did everything he could. He's from California. He didn't grow up on the rivalry. He came here because it was hard. He chose this. He takes that on. He's going to live with the 0-2, but he also gave it his all, and that has to matter for something. 0-2 is 0-2, but that has to matter for something.
We talked very early in C.J. Stroud's career here at Ohio Stadium last season about, actually it wasn't really his career, but early in his starting career, about what being a great quarterback really means and what you have to do to separate yourself and be called a great quarterback. And at the time, it was coming off of that Oregon game. And the great quarterback gets on the field and finds a way to win that game. That is a separator. It doesn't mean you can't be a great quarterback and not find a way to win the game. But that's how you win a Heisman. That's how you separate yourself into the upper echelon. And he did it last year, I would say, against Utah under those circumstances. But 2 shots at the game, and Oregon, he didn't do it. At the same time, I see what you're saying, Stephen, about I think there is a failure here, but it's a failure of this program to take advantage of a talent as good as C.J. Stroud. And that's what I think lingers here as much as putting this on him, that he is 0-2 in the game, which he is. You are your record. He didn't win it, and he was the one who stood up there in front of us and embraced that and said, it stinks, but that's what it is, and I don't expect people to like it. I don't expect people to give me a break because I know that I'm 0-2 in the game, and that's everything. But this program had an opportunity. They went and found a real quarterback, a big-time quarterback. This is what Ryan Day wanted to do, bring that guy here, build him from the ground up, and put him on the field to go win a game like this, to go win this game. And it wasn't most of what led to him losing this game and letting Ohio State losing this game was not in his hands. So I'm going to call it a C because of everything we've talked about. I think it's a balance of both. But the way I look at it long term, it's the failure of the program to take advantage of what it had with C.J. Stroud and win one of these 2 chances.
I just want to piggyback on that. the only player with more touchdown passes and more passing yards than him is JT Barrett, and he needed 2 extra years to do that. So to the point of they wasted a very, very good quarterback and 2 elite passing offenses with what these receivers are, both last year and this year, because they couldn't get it done in this game. And it just gets reflected on his record because he is the starting quarterback.
A lot more to discuss about this on Buckeye Talk, the post-game, but we're not shutting it down once the season ends, which the season isn't over yet either, obviously. A lot more to talk about. Get us 5 days a week on Buckeye Talk and get the text 614-350-3315, news, intel, analysis all season long, all year round from Buckeye Talk.